Welcome to part 2 of BOB.EXE. Last time we left off, Zach opened BOB.EXE and saw that all of his characters were NPCs and that blood was everywhere. He also has a really good stopwatch. Let's go. I wasn't worried. So what if there was a few graphical and auditory glitches? I was going to play LEGO Universe again, and I was going to play as Hailstorm and the other faction leaders. Without hesitation, I selected Hailstorm and pressed the blue arrow to continue. Or rather, I would have pressed the blue arrow, but for some reason it was red. And when I clicked it, I could have sworn that I heard a high-pitched laughter in the background, sounding almost like an echoing version of Bob's. The screen went black for a loose estimate of 9.896 seconds. Then, the loading screen popped up and said that my destination was the Venture Explorer. Now, this was the first game I thought something was odd. Was Hailstorm's save file really only on the tutorial level? I also noticed that the Venture Explorer's artwork depicted the spaceship looking even more wrecked than I remember it being. I just assumed that this was one of those new files that it downloaded. Probably some cool hyper-realistic graphics update that was never released thanks to LEGO Universe's cancellation. When Hailstorm spawned on the Venture Explorer, the first thing I noticed was that the Venture Explorer's interior was considerably more wrecked than I remembered it, with entire pieces on the walkway chewed up into pieces. Okay then. The nearby pods of sleeping minifigures in suspended animation were cracked open, but the minifigures inside remained lifeless. At first, Jet Moonshot was nowhere to be seen, but then I found his body smashed into pieces in a pool of blood. Then there was more suspicious pools of blood coating the entire world. I wasn't sure that the music was, but like before, it sounded like it was played at in reverse and 50% speed. I made my way to the Venture Explorer Bridge, where Bob was waiting for me. Like before, his face was locked in a perpetual grin with blood dripping from his eyes. He popped one arm out of its socket and waved it to me, which I remember being a cute little animation in the vein of Lego Island. But now, when Bob popped his arm out, a fountain of blood erupted from his open socket in a manner reminiscent to the Black Knight from Monty Python. Okay. The game indicated that Bob had a mission for me. I interacted with him to accept the mission. His dialogue was simply, "Hey kid, do you want to use your imagination?" I didn't remember this dialogue from the game, but I shrugged it off. Why should I be afraid? It was only a video game. The mission was to collect 6 imagination orbs from around nearby pistons, just like I remembered it. Despite the horribly wrecked status of the ship, the pistons were still functional, and I was able to grab 5 of the orbs with ease. However, upon grabbing the 6th orb, Bob's face started flashing on the screen, and the game started lagging horribly as the frame rate took a nosedive. This caused me to jump, and Hailstorm properly fell into the ring of the ship, where he was horrifically electrocuted. I was seething. "That's cheap," I yelled at the computer. "I died because of lag." The smashed pop-up appeared, but it was different. Instead of Bob, it depicted a Hailstorm with gratuitous amount of blood pouring out his mutilated body. The word smash was replaced with dead. But worst of all, the rebuild option was not available. This especially irritated me because I thought that the game was glitched and I would have to restart in order to close the pop-up, which I already had to do enough times in beta and wasn't particularly eager living those memories. Hailstorm, whoops. Fortunately, after about 7.4259 seconds, the screen cut to black with Bob's laugh echoing in the background. Then, approximately, 10.2651 seconds later, the game returned to the character select screen. Hailstorm's minifigure was desaturated of color. He no longer had his usual cocky expression, but now looked depressed. There was blood dripping from his eyes, just like Bob. But most importantly, he could not be selected as a player character. I tried for several minutes, but I failed. So I decided to try another character, Vanda Darkflame. Again, as I clicked on the red arrow to continue, Bob's laugh was heard on the screen, cut to black for a rushed estimate of, holy shit, 9.953726 seconds. When the loading screen popped up, this time my destination was Avant Gardens. Vanda Darkflame spawned near the wrecked Paradox Research Facility. Dark and sinister music was playing. Once again, was in reverse and played at 50% speed. Avant Gardens was not as I remembered it. The trees were bare and dead, and the grass was burned away to reveal scorched earth beneath. There was no bird singing, and the ground was littered with skeletons, wearing pink pants, lying in pools of blood. Okay, that's weird. I went to find Wisp Lee, expecting that he would give me a mission to find the Espelon Starcracker. Instead, Wisp Lee was covered in bandages, or rather more bandages than usual. He was wrapped in bandages from head to toe like a mummy. The bandages also looked like they were stained with blood. Big surprise. Wisp Lee did not answer a mission, but a dialogue bubble appeared over his head saying, I guess being covered in bandages would do that to you. I ran to the Sentinel outpost, expecting to find Epsilon Starcracker. Instead, I found Bob again, grinning with blood dripping out of his eyes, was now becoming the norm. He had a mission, accompanied by the dialogue. Calling for help from Sentinel? They won't help you. What a paradox, isn't it? This made no sense, so I just ignored it. The mission was to build a satellite beacon called a Sentinel Flight Airstrike. I found one of the quick builds fairly quickly and assembled it. The satellite beacon made an unusual sound that sounded like an 8-bit version of Bob's laugh. Moments later, I heard the familiar sound of Sentinel Flight zooming overhead. However, instead of the aiming from nearby Stormlings and Stormling mech, Sentinel Flight bombed the Vanda Dark Flame instead. Dark Flame instead. She screamed as she was consumed in the explosion. When the dust settled, there was nothing but a pool of blood where she once stood. Bob's face flashed on the screen for nearly, oh my fucking god, 0.31415926 seconds when this happened. Oh, come on, I grumbled. Do you really expect me to buy that? The smash popped up, reappeared, looking just as it did before with the dead text and lots of blood. However, this time it was Vanda Dark Flame depicted in the pop-up of a hailstorm. Just as before, there was no option to rebuild, and I had to wait roughly, oh my god, I swear these keep getting longer, 6.73859372 seconds later, before the screen cut to black with Bob's laugh echoing in the background. About, oh my fucking god, 10.29485715 seconds later, I was back at the character select screen. Like Handle Vanda Dark Flame's minifigure was desaturated, depressed, and crying blood. She wasn't playing anymore, so I removed on to the next character, BOB.EXE. I clicked on the red arrow to continue. Bob laughed, and the screen cut to black for nearly 10.04867397 seconds. The loading screen indicated that I was going back to Avant Gardens. This time, BOB.EXE spawned at the Sentinel base camp. The background music sounded like it might have been calm and relaxing if it was played normally, but instead sounded ominous and foreboding due to being slowed down and played in reverse like the other songs. Most of the Sentinel faction members were dismembered and lying in pools of blood, which caked the grounds of the walls of the camp. Deciding that I didn't want to remain in the Sentinel base camp, I made my way for the tunnel to the assembly monument. However, the jump pad required to pass the tunnel indicated that I needed Theo Beflore's permission in order to use it. Seeing how Theo Beflore was lying decapitated in a pool of blood and probably wasn't up for much conversation. Really now? I guessed that I was stuck in the Sentinel base camp for now. Turning around, I noticed that Bob, blood and all, was standing in Beck Strongheart's palace. Once again, he had a mission for me. I was getting rather tired of this pattern, but since I had nothing better to do, I grudgingly accepted. His dialogue was simply, "You cannot survive forever, you know." The mission was to survive 6 minutes and 66 seconds in the Advent Garden survival instance. This sounded like no real challenge to me, who held the previous Storm Universe record for surviving 78 hours, 35 minutes, and 25 seconds with nothing more than a few boxes of pizza, a carton of chocolate milk, and an adult diaper. To be continued in part 3.